Hi, it's Miss Carpenter. I'm back with video 1, equation of a line. So, what's in our box today? Something's sticking out of there. First thing that we're going to see today, a mallet. Second, my socks of the day, polar bears on sleds. Third thing, a potato. And lastly, a homemade yo-yo. My daughter has been experimenting because we didn't have a yo-yo one day when we were discussing graphs. She's been experimenting with making her own. Equations of a line, that's today's topic. So, we're going to begin by looking at a Cartesian plane. First of all, see my really terrible drawing up here in the corner? That's a little silhouette of René Descartes. René Descartes, he was a thinker. He was a philosopher and he was a mathematician. So he decided that, hang on, arithmetic, which is interesting, and geometry, which is interesting and visual, we need to put those together. If we put those together, we're going to have a whole new way of looking at math. And math is so visual. Writing it down, using your fingers to count, doing anything that helps you visualize, that's great. Drawing. So he drew this, and he decided, well, we're already using A, B, and C for things, so I'm going to use the letters X and Y. And that's how I'm going to say whether I'm going up and down or horizontally. The other thing he decided was I'm going to use 4 quadrants, because sometimes we want to talk about positive numbers and sometimes we want to talk about negative numbers. Now, how can you possibly remember what those are? So, let's borrow the yo-yo. So a yo-yo goes down and is supposed to come back up. That one didn't, but a yo-yo normally goes up and down. So yo-yo, which begins with the letter Y, as we all know, that is how we're going to remember that our y-axis goes up and down, just like a yo-yo does. Okay, what about our other axis, which is X? So I'm borrowing one of the kids'. This actually is not a xylophone. It's actually a glockenspiel, but we're going to pretend. And it's upside down. So a xylophone normally is down like this, and you play it like this. So we're going to use that horizontal X for X xylophone. To remember that that is the x-axis. En français, on dit ordonnée à l'origine et abscisse. This abscisse, you can hear the sound abscisse, just like X, so that's one way to remember it. Okay, so we've got a y-axis and we've got an x-axis. Now, if you can remember what a thermometer looks like, and maybe you've never even seen one, here's a great drawing of a thermometer. So this is a Celsius thermometer, and it's going down in degrees, -1, -2, and thankfully today, it's in the plus. So if we can think of a thermometer every time we think of the Cartesian plane, and I bet you picked up on the fact that Cartesian comes from René Descartes. Cartesian plane like this, we have our negative numbers here. -1, -2, -3, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are positive numbers on this side. Now, that's just like any number line that we've learned in math class. The negatives on the left, the positives on the right, and if you think of a long time ago, I'm left-handed, and a long time ago, you weren't allowed to use your left hand. It was considered evil or sinister. So your side on this side, the left, was considered negative. So that's one way to remember that it's negative, on the left. On this side, the right, it's positive. But what about that y-axis? Well, if you remember the thermometer, when you're going this way, it's +1, +2, +3. It's positive going up, and down here, it's -1, -2, -3, -4, going down. So if you can just remember a thermometer, plus and minus that way. If you can remember left used to be considered sinister, then left is negative, this way is positive to the right. Okay, so this can go on infinitely, but we're just going to use a little bit to illustrate this. Now, if you go on YouTube and Google, or look up, y equals mx plus b as a song, it goes kind of like this. Y equals mx plus b, y equals mx plus b, or you can go y equals mx plus b. That song will be stuck in your head forever, but go check it out. Some really cool classes, some really amazing teachers have made awesome videos all about y equals mx plus b. Get that in your head. We're going to talk about what those mean. So first of all, we've got our graph. This is quadrant 1 over here. Quadrant 1 is the one that we seem to use the most because we don't talk about I have minus 10 apples. We talk about I have 3 apples or I have 4 apples. So that's why we tend to be over here. In time, we talk about 0 time and then it goes on and we measure time. But if we were using negative time, that's not as likely. So this is the quadrant we use the most. And then we go counterclockwise, quadrant 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to concentrate on this for now. Okay, so some things to remember. There are 4 quadrants. Think of it as a thermometer. Go this way like a number line. Y is for yo-yo, up and down. And X is for xylophone that goes this way. Okay, until next time.